Most video games become famous because they sold a lot of copies. Some of them become legendary because people never stop talking about them. Batman: The Return of Joker falls into that second category. I mean, even though it originally launched back in 1991 for the NES, this game actually continues to hold a pretty special place in the memories of Batman fans and retro gamers. It was developed by Sunsoft as a follow-up to its highly praised Batman title. In fact, Return of the Joker pushed the aging Nintendo hardware to its absolute limits. The visuals were astonishing for the time, the soundtrack was memorable, the action felt bigger than almost anything else available on the platform. More than 30 years later, today, players still regularly point at it as one of the most technically impressive games ever released on the NES. See, that last reputation is exactly why the idea of a modern remake here continues. Well, first of all, of course, as always, to be clear, there's currently no official announcement, saying Batman Return of the Joker is in development again. The concept remains entirely speculative, yet the more you think about it, the more it sort of starts to feel like one of those ideas that simply makes sense. Because beneath the old hardware, beneath the pixel art, the limitations of the 1991 technology, there was a foundation for a genuinely exciting Batman adventure. The original story was straightforward: Gotham City, in which finds itself facing a new threat after valuable material began disappearing under mysterious circumstances, and then Batman quickly realizes only one criminal mind would be responsible for it: the Joker. Now from there, then, Batman launches a relentless pursuit across dangerous locations while trying to stop a catastrophic plan before Gotham pays a price. It was pretty simple, it was direct, effective, and honestly, that's one reason the game remains so appealing. There wasn't a complicated multiverse storyline, there wasn't some dozens of side characters competing for attention. It was Batman versus Joker, the ultimate rivalry. A remake would take that simple promise and transform it into something truly special. Imagine like Gotham rebuilt using modern technology, not just as a city, a living city. Rain falling across neon-lit streets while distant sirens echo through the night, helicopters circle overhead, criminal activity spreads, news reports fill digital billboards while citizens desperately try to continue their lives. Immediately, the stakes feel larger. The original game, hinted at the much bigger world than it could actually show, so a remake could finally reveal it. In fact, one of the biggest opportunities would be Gotham itself. For decades, Gotham City has been one of the most iconic locations in all of fiction. It's every bit as important to Batman as the Dark Knight himself. Yet, Return of the Joker was limited by the technology of its era. Modern hardware could completely change that. Like, imagine moving through massive Gothic cathedrals illuminated by moonlights. Every location could feel unique, every environment could tell a story, every area could remind players why Gotham remains one of the most fascinating cities ever created. The Joker will benefit enormously from a remake as well. Because while the original game featured him as the primarily villain, hardware limitations prevented the developers from fully exploring his personality. I mean, today that's no longer a problem. Imagine a Joker who constantly manipulates events through a story, not simply appearing at the beginning and the end, but haunting the entire adventure, every crime scene carrying his own signature, every trap reflecting his twisted sense of humor, every confrontation revealing another layer of his madness. The relationship between Batman and Joker has always been one of the greatest rivalries in entertainment. So a remake, could fully embrace that. The story wouldn't need to become overly complicated, it would simply need room to breathe. Room to explore the psychological conflict between the two characters who have actually spent their lives defining each other. That's where the emotional weight would come back, not explosions, not action sequences, the characters. Then there's also the Batman himself. That version, featured in Return of the Joker, was surprisingly aggressive by the standards of the time. The gameplay focused heavily on action, players were allowed to blast through enemies using advanced gadgets and weapon systems. In fact, many players have often joked that the game's combat felt more like a futuristic action shooting game than a traditional Batman adventure. Well, a modern remake could refine that concept dramatically, especially when we saw how the new Wolverine game looks like. A modern remake could refine that concept dramatically. Powerful gadgets, fluid combat, stealth mechanics, martial arts, environmental takedowns, detective investigations, vehicle sequences. In fact, the goal wouldn't be to abandon the original game's action roots, it would be to evolve them. Batman should feel powerful, but he should also feel intelligent. That's what separates him from every other superhero. His greatest weapon's never been the technology, it's reputation. A remake could finally capture that balance. The boss battles could become incredible. The original game already featured giant machines, advanced weapons, memorable confrontations against Joker. Modern technology could transform those encounters into massive cinematic set pieces. The possibilities practically write themselves. Visually, on the other hand, the game could become stunning. Ironically, one reason fans still discuss the original title today is because of its graphics. Even modern retro gaming communities regularly praise Return of the Joker as one of the best looking games ever released on the NES. Many players describe it as a technical showcase that fell years ahead of its time. That's a remarkable legacy, and it's exactly the kind of foundation a remake should build upon. The goal wouldn't be realism for the sake of realism, it would be style, the bold shadows, heavy atmosphere, dramatic lighting, a Gotham City that feels both beautiful and dangerous, something closer to a graphic novel brought to life, something unmistakably Batman. The soundtrack, on the other hand, could play a huge role as well. Sunsoft's Batman games earn a reputation for delivering some of the best music on the NES. Even today, many retro gaming fans continue listening to those. So a remake could preserve those iconic melodies while expanding them in overall depth. Imagine hearing those themes rise during major confrontations, subtle music building tension as Batman investigates Joker's latest crime scene. Perhaps the most interesting thing about a potential remake is that it wouldn't need to compete directly with the Arkham games. It would just, it could be something different. A focused adventure, a tighter story, more comic-oriented or comic book-inspired experience. The Arkham series already proved Batman works beautifully in large-scale action games. A Return of the Joker remake could focus on delivering something slightly more classic, a more rather modern love letter to one of Batman's most beloved retro adventures. All things considered, right now, none of this is official. No remake has been announced, no development studio has confirmed anything. The project exists only in the imagination of fans, but sometimes that's where the best ideas begin. Because decades later, people still remember Batman Return of the Joker. They still remember its incredible graphics, the challenging gameplay, larger-than-life boss fights, its unforgettable atmosphere, when most games have actually from that era simply faded away. This one hasn't. And maybe that's the strongest argument for remake. Not because nostalgia demands it, but because great ideas deserve another chance. Especially when the idea involves Batman standing alone against his greatest enemy while Gotham City hangs in the balance once again.